Kayla, you know what's really annoying?
What?
When a roller coaster's restraints is what keeps it from being great.
I agree with you.
So, like, on one side of the spectrum, we have rides like Phoenix at Knoebels, where the restraints or lack of restraints in that situation,
Non-existent almost.
non-existent restraints, makes that one of the best roller coasters in the world.
Yeah, one of our favorites.
Yeah, and on the other end of that, you have rides like Sky Rush, which actually has new restraints now. We have yet to test it out, but their old restraints were some of the most polarizing restraints known to man. A lot of people really hated that coaster because of the restraints and the pain that it caused, specifically on your thighs.
Polarizing in this household.
Very polarizing in this house. So yeah, I'm kind of a sicko. I love that ride. It was painful on the thighs, but just that feeling of like you think your upper body might get separated from the lower body. I was kind of into that.
I found it sick and twisted.
As most people do. But today we're going to be discussing the B&M Vest Restraints on their new coasters.
As we just said, the restraints really can either make or break a ride. And we actually just rode Iron Menace, and we were chatting about it the other day. And one of our main topics of concern was this could really be a great roller coaster if it didn't have such restrictive restraints. And for being something brand new, it's weird that B&M seems to be going in the opposite direction of comfort and ability.
Yeah, exactly. These vest restraints, if you're unaware, it's on all of their new wing coasters, their dive coasters, and even now their inverted coasters. Like Banshee over at Kings Island has them. Haven't been on it yet, so we don't have input on that ride. But all of these other ones, it's super restrictive. Yeah, it's worse than their old regular over the shoulder plastic restraints that like all of the other inverts have, that Sheikra and Griffin have. Honestly, it's a step down.
It's rare a new element gets worse.
Exactly, yeah. Like initially when you get put into them, like they're like tight on the shoulders and the chest and the waist, all areas. And then after the first drop on these roller coasters, it's game over. It just gets that much worse. They just clamp down on you all the way. There's no way to enjoy the forces really, like especially if you're not getting any airtime. You're not getting the floatiness through the inversions that you would on like Griffin and Sheikra. And it's just unfortunate, really.
Yeah, it absolutely hinders the ride, which is upsetting to see. Yep, we just rode Valraven at Cedar Point, and I was like, get me Valrave off this thing. After a few of those inversions, it just got tighter and tighter and tighter. And I do love a good dive coaster, and I really felt that it took away from the experience for us.
And the thing is, I'm almost positive I would prefer Iron Menace and Valraven to like Griffin and Sheikra had they had the old restraints. They have better layouts, more inspired layouts than the other two, and it's just it's kind of sad, unfortunately. And like on their like Gatekeeper and Valraven, they both have these awesome airtime hills on the ride, where you don't get any airtime because you're just clutched down by these terrible, terrible vest restraints, and yeah. And I've heard that like, oh, there's a trick where before the first drop, stick your hands inside the vest and push out so it doesn't. Like, no.
So I can ride like this.
Yeah, if I'm doing that, then I'm not enjoying the first drop at all. I'm thinking about my hands being stuck inside the vest. Like what am I, Harry Houdini now in a straitjacket? Like, no. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have to do that to enjoy a ride.
There shouldn't be an extra step or an extra trick to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like B&M, used to be ahead of the innovations. They came up with so many, like the floorless coasters where everything drops below you when the gate comes out. I believe B&M literally invented that technology. So to see them in recent years take a step back from that as an innovator it's upsetting because it is one of our favorite manufacturers.
And they're one of the biggest manufacturers.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They build the most expensive roller coasters. And if you look at these other manufacturers, Intamin, RMC, Gerstlauer, Vekoma, they all have roller coasters with inversions and just lap bars.
If they can do it,
B&M can certainly do it. Yeah, like I don't see why they can't take their clamshell restraints, like on their Hypers and Gigas, and like slightly modify them, like maybe like come around a little bit more around their waist, so like you are more secure in there. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it seems like a weird, lazy addition. I don't know. It is like we said, strange to get worse over time.
And if you're giving the argument where it's like, oh, some of the inversions are too intense or whatever, I'm not buying that. If we can go through the death roll on Gwazi and like the Mosasaurus roll on Velocicoaster with lap bars only, we can take every single inversion on these B&M dive and wing coasters with lap bars only.
Agreed.
Some of their older inverts, like I'm thinking about like Afterburn specifically, and like Alpengeist, like more intense ones, those should have the over-the-shoulder harnesses, fine.
Yes.
And they do. And they're amazing rides. It's just, yeah, these newer Vest ones, they're just not doing it for me. So yeah, with the old restraints, you had some wiggle room in there. So on these inversions, you're getting like that floaty feeling. And on the airtime hills, you are coming up out of your seat a little bit. Like, it's much more enjoyable than with these Vests where you're just absolutely just clamped down. And it's unfortunate because like that's what I'm thinking about during the ride. And especially at the end of the ride on the brake run, it's just like, wow, this thing is tight.
I cannot wait to get out of it.
Yeah, it gives you like that weird like claustrophobic feeling. Like it's not cool, man.
Yeah, it's weird to hinder your own elements. You know, I'm just thinking about the engineers that create the ride and then the engineers that are creating these restraints, and it's like, do you guys talk to each other? Or
yeah, it's like, why are you even putting airtime hills on this ride if
you can't experience
if your guests are not going to be able to enjoy them? You know, it's like, it doesn't make sense. And I do understand that some rides do need over-the-shoulder harnesses. Intimidator 305 comes to mind.
Exactly. That's why we didn't mention that earlier, because that for survival requires this.
Which is actually now Project 305. I think they're going to rename it for next year. Hopefully they give it an awesome name because that's one of the best roller coasters in the world. But back to my point. That ride needs over-the-shoulder harnesses because on those transitions, like jerking back from left to right, like you need support like up around your neck area for sure, because that could be a dangerous game potentially.
Those are life-saving restraints, quite literally.
But for the most part these days, yeah, I think most rides can get away with having just lap bars, honestly.
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of like disappointed when I get on a coaster and I don't have just the lap bars.
Yeah, exactly. I get like in this day and age, like, come on, like.
Especially on a newer model, it's kind of like, is this necessary?
Yeah, like specifically like Vekoma and Gerstlauer have inverted roller coasters now with just lap bars only that have like intense like inversions and stuff like that. So like, if they can do it, I'm sorry.
It can be done.
You can do it, B&M. so the four B&Ms that we've been on with these Vest Restraints, Wild Eagle at Dollywood, Valraven, Iron Menace, and Gatekeeper as well. And actually five. I forgot about Pipeline. And that is the one ride where I do not mind the Vest Restraints because your entire body, that mechanism is just bringing you up and down anyway. You're getting fantastic airtime on that ride. And I don't think it's in the works for B&M to start implementing that technology on their other roller coasters.
Yeah, not quite yet.
Seats are bouncing up and down, which is fine. I'm not asking them to do that, but yeah, I think these restraints need to be changed.
The way we see it is they have three options. Go back, admit you were wrong, and just use your original restraints that everybody seemed to like and had no complaints.
Which you know they obviously
will not do. Yeah.
They're not going to do
We were wrong. Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Option two, just modify existing lap bars to withstand these elements, especially on the dive coaster.
Yeah, like their clamshell restraints on the Hypers and Gigas are so comfortable, and I don't like. How can you not just slightly modify those, like contour more around your waist? Yeah. You're not going anywhere. Trust me.
Exactly, yeah.
You're not gonna fall out. So I don't see why that's not an option.
And option number three, which is don't do anything at all and keep building coasters as you have been.
Which I think is the most likely option.
Exactly. It's not like they're hurting or anything, and it's not like there's been a lack of sales.
Yeah,
so
they're building these coasters. They're selling them no problem. People love B&M. The general public love B&M, and your average guest isn't thinking about the restraints on these rides. They come off the ride like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And these are very fun roller coasters.
Of course, like, we aren't taking that away from it.
Like a Gatekeeper, Iron Menace, Valraven,
love them.
Wild Eagle, they're fantastic rides.
Yeah, we will ride all of them again.
I can't wait to get back on them again.
They could be better.
But they're being held back by these restraints. They would be so much better with different ones, honestly.
I think maybe an average person might look at that and it does look safer, I guess. And if we didn't know better, it might even make me feel comfortable until, of course, you're suffocating at the end of the ride. But yeah, visually they look safer. Maybe, to a survey group of people. And
we've heard the new generation of these Vest Restraints aren't as bad. But we did just ride Iron Menace like a few weeks ago, and they're coming down. Maybe not as tight, but tight enough where it's taking away from these elements for sure.
You notice it for sure, absolutely.
All right, so if you guys agree with our points, disagree with our points, let us know. What do you think about these vest restraints? Think they should change them up? What do you think the best option would be here?
Are we being too nitpicky?
Are we overreacting? Probably, because yeah, like B&M, they're going to continue making these roller coasters, and people are going to continue to love them. They don't care what we think.
No, and we're going to keep riding them anyway, so.
And we're going to keep complaining.
Exactly. Which is all right.
Give the enthusiasts what they want.
Not the general public. They don't know what they're talking about.
They have no idea what they're talking about. We might not have any idea what we're talking about.
That also may be true.
We just want these rides to be as best as they could possibly be. So that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. Yep. Slight improvement could change the whole experience.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, there's a like and a subscribe button down there somewhere. Pretty easy to find, just go ahead and give that a click. We'll see you next time.